Hello everyone. So this will be our discussion on the lecture on decentralization of political analysis. Um, I've given the readings already, but what I want to discuss is try to bring together the questions here. But basically, looking at the clientelistic and unstable nature of PNG politics and its impact on decentralization itself. Now, there are three themes that I want to talk about, and that is the empowerment efficiency argument, the client and unstable relationship or unstable nature of PNG politics, and then the rise of national MPs through this year. Now, to begin with, let's look at the historical context here, and I mentioned and I explained further in our lecture about the importance of understanding our history. And decentralization is no different here. The organic law on provincial and local government came in 1977, came about as a result of our historical development. And there are two in our case that shaped the decentralization system, and that is the self-government and the Bougainville separatist movement. Looking at self-government, when the Somali government or Somalia was given the chief minister title and together with his colleagues from both houses achieved self-government in 1973, the people on the island of Bougainville opted to break away and form a separate state. This is important because by 1973, the issue of Bougainville has led to the issue of power sharing. Okay. Now the unity argument here is important because Papua New Guinea is an emerging state in that time. Breaking away of any, let's say, separatist movement, okay, will have a significant impact on the nationhood and the development of the state. So a compromise was to be arranged and negotiated, and this resulted in the creation of the organic law, okay, on the provincial and local level government. Now, the whole idea behind this, the establishment of the 20 provinces, was to empower and reduce threats of secessionist and separatist movements. So behind that is this argument that if we give the 20 provinces to or we establish Bougainville as a province, we should do the same for other regions as well. Give them 20 provinces, and then to keep them in line until we carry the state forward, and until we reach a time when we are mature enough to ensure national unity. So the argument was about empowerment, and that's very true when we talk about democracy, because democracy and decentralization, when you talk about democracy and decentralization, you will inevitably be talking about this idea of empowerment. You empower people through this idea of decentralizing power to the people to manage their affairs of the state. So, from 1987 to 1983, by 1983, the national government passed amendment to suspend provincial governors, and that is due to the issue of non-performance. This is important because the issue of non-performance is leaning towards more of this idea of effectiveness and empowerment here. Now, by 1999, the PAC, or the Public Accounts Committee, recommended for the abolition of elected provincial governments. Now, this period is important here because it's indicative of what is going on at the political level. Now, talked about this idea here, the clientelistic and unstable nature of PNG politics, and I will talk about it further here. And this has an effect on the 1995 OL PLNG. So, Papua New Guinea's political system and politics is built on the notion of how we govern or how we maneuver the local politics. You have about 700 different tribes and 1,000 languages. There is no one dominant ethnic group that can rival the state. And Ben Riley has talked about this in his article. Social Capital in Papua New Guinea, and he argued that because of these, the differences, the large fragmented ethnic and tribal groupings, it's very hard for one dominant group to challenge the state. That is why local politics is of essence here. Now, in 1993, one of the reasons is due to non-performance, because some provincial government could not manage and have the capacity and resources to effectively run or manage the provincial government powers given to them. By 1990, the national MPs, the national parliament, we have the directed national MPs and the provincial MPs through what is called the premiers. Now, the national MPs are having difficulty in managing local affairs because we have the provincial premiers who are, let's say, blocking them in terms of their reaching the local level government. And again, as I stated here, local level government is important. You negotiate your local governments or the local politics well, and you seek re-election, and that was the issue here. National MPs were having difficulty in managing this terrain here. Now, let me put this in an example here. So you have, let's say, a member for Taripori, or let's say a member of parliament, Medellin open seat. You have Brian Kramer as the member for Medellin, and in our old days we have, let's say, Nixon Dubang, who is an hardcore PNC candidate, who is the provincial premiers. Now, within this leadership here, two gentlemen here, it's very hard to work with these two gentlemen with different political party and loyalty. With that, there is a confrontation, and the services or delivery of goods and services does not reach the people because there is this blockage. The conflict between the national and political and provincial level tend to block any form of services to the people. So the recommendation in 1990s was to abolition of elected provincial governments, was to remove the provincial premiers, and they achieved that in the 1995 OLP LLG reform. That was introduced, and the idea was to remove directly elected assembly. Now, directly elected assembly here, and replace with indirectly elected assembly. These two ideas here, the directly represented elected assembly talks or is the directly elected assembly, entertains the idea of empowerment, whereas the indirectly elected assembly tends to favor the efficiency and effectiveness argument here. So let's see the 1995 reform. Organic law and provincial repeal. From 1995 to 2015, there is an overwhelming legislation passed to make the provincial, let's say, government obsolete. And that is this idea, this box here, this table here is an indication of the rise of national MPs over the provincial governments. And I talked about the political dynamics, the local government already here, but as a result of rise of national MPs, purely in the service delivery area here, on the other hand, as increase the or unite provincial governments to talk about resource management and autonomy. That is when New Ireland came in, instantly Britain came in. Now this autonomy here was to give acknowledgement, respect you can say, to give, let's say, some form of authority in the provinces to the provincial government. So what I'm saying here, the distinctive features, what are the distinctive features of decentralization system? One of the distinctive features of decentralization, and as we explained here, is that our national MPs tend to have overwhelming power over decentralization. They tend to dictate decentralization in Papua New Guinea. Now, what are the challenges posed by the clientelistic and unstable nature of politics? Because of the local level politics here, the rise of national MPs tend to dictate the local politics through the passage of DDA Act, where there is a structure in terms of service delivery. But the problem in our decentralization system here is that there is no proper organizational structure at the district level. There is duplication of roles and responsibility between the DDA and the provincial government and the national MP, so national government. So there is a challenge in this area here. But the overall discussion that I want to put forward in this video here is that our decentralization system started off as genuine through the creation of elected assembly and sort of entertained this empowerment here, the idea of empowerment. But over the years, the local politics, the clientelistic nature of local politics has resulted in the demise of provincial politicians and the overwhelming increase of the national MPs. That has resulted in the national MPs dictating decentralization that we have today. And as such, the issue of proper structure or an organization and the flow of information is still an issue in our decentralization system. So this is, the video tries to bring out this message here as a summary to this lecture.